The moment Captain Jack Sparrow disappeared from our screens, something in the world of cinema quietly broke. I still remember the first time I saw him walk into the frame slightly drunk, completely unpredictable, and yet somehow in total control of everything around him. It wasn't just an entrance. It was a statement. This wasn't your typical hero. This wasn't even your typical pirate. This was chaos, dressed in charisma. And from that very moment, I realized we weren't just watching a character. We were witnessing a phenomenon being born. Captain Jack Sparrow didn't follow rules, didn't care about expectations, and yet somehow became the very soul of the franchise. And today, when I look back, I can't help but feel like something irreplaceable has been lost. Because here's the truth that nobody says out loud anymore. The world of pirates without Jack Sparrow feels incomplete. Not broken, not ruined, just hollow in a way that's hard to explain but impossible to ignore. You can have bigger ships, louder battles, newer characters, but there was something about him that went beyond storytelling. It was the way he walked, like gravity itself didn't apply to him. The way he spoke, every word dripping with wit, confusion, and hidden brilliance. And most importantly, the way he made us feel like anything could happen at any moment. That unpredictability, that magic is something you can't recreate by simply writing a new script. And the deeper I think about it, the more I realize that Jack Sparrow was never meant to be a perfect hero. In fact, he wasn't even a proper villain. He existed in this strange gray area where morality didn't matter as much as survival, instinct, and sometimes unexpected loyalty. He would lie, cheat, run away, and yet when it mattered the most, he would stand his ground in ways that shocked everyone, including us. That contradiction is what made him feel real. And that's exactly why he stayed with us long after the credits rolled. He wasn't someone you admired from a distance. He was someone you connected with, even when you didn't fully understand him. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the man behind the madness. Johnny Depp didn't just play Jack Sparrow, he transformed into him in a way that blurred the line between actor and character. Every slurred sentence, every unpredictable gesture, every iconic expression, it all felt so natural that you almost forgot this was a performance. And that's the rarest kind of acting. The kind where you don't see effort. You don't see technique, you just see magic unfolding in front of your eyes. He took what could have been a simple pirate role and turned it into one of the most iconic characters in cinematic history. And let's be honest, when we talk about Pirates of the Caribbean, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? It's not just the story, not just the action, not even the music. It's Jack Sparrow. His presence defined the entire tone of the franchise. Whether it was comedy, tension, or emotional depth, everything revolved around him. He was the glue that held the chaos together. Without him, the world feels like it's missing its heartbeat. And that's not something you can simply replace with another character, no matter how well written they are. Now here's where things start to feel even more complicated. Because the franchise isn't over. New stories are being planned. New characters are being introduced. The world of pirates is still alive, still expanding, still trying to evolve. But the question that keeps echoing in my mind is simple. Can it ever feel the same again? Can any new face, any new story recreate that unpredictable charm, that effortless humor, that emotional depth that Jack Sparrow brought to the screen? Or are we chasing something that was always meant to be one of a kind? And this isn't just about nostalgia, it's about identity. Because when a character becomes this deeply embedded in a story, removing them doesn't just change the narrative, it changes the entire experience. It's like removing the soul and expecting the body to function the same way. You can try, you can rebuild, you can reimagine, but there's always going to be that lingering absence. That quiet feeling that something important is missing, even if you can't fully explain what it is. And I think that's exactly what audiences are feeling right now. I've seen people argue that it's time to move on, that stories need to evolve, that new characters deserve their chance to shine. And honestly, I understand that perspective. Change is necessary. Growth is important. But at the same time, there are certain elements in storytelling that become so iconic, so deeply loved, that moving on feels less like evolution and more like loss. And Jack Sparrow is one of those elements. He isn't just part of the story, he is the story in ways that are hard to separate. And then there's the emotional connection. Because for many of us, Jack Sparrow wasn't just entertainment, he was part of our memories. The late night movie marathons, the unforgettable dialogues, the moments that made us laugh when we least expected it. He became a feeling, a comfort character in a world that constantly changes. And when something like that disappears, it leaves behind a gap that no new story can easily fill. It's not just about what we're watching, it's about what we're feeling while watching it. But here's the question that refuses to go away. Will we ever see Johnny Depp return as Jack Sparrow? It's a question filled with hope, uncertainty, and a bit of hesitation. Because the journey hasn't been simple. There have been controversies, decisions, and moments that have complicated the situation in ways that go far beyond storytelling. And yet, despite all of that, the demand remains. The audience hasn't forgotten. The connection hasn't faded. If anything, it has grown stronger with time. And maybe that says something powerful about the character. Because in an industry that constantly moves forward, constantly replaces, constantly reinvents, Jack Sparrow has managed to remain unforgettable. Not because of marketing, not because of trends, but because of genuine impact, because he made people feel something real. And in the end, that's what great storytelling is all about. Not just creating characters, but creating memories that stay with us long after the story ends. So now we find ourselves at a crossroads, a future filled with possibilities, but also uncertainty. New films may come. New pirates may rise, new adventures may unfold. But the shadow of Jack Sparrow will always be there, quietly reminding us of what once was. And maybe, just maybe, that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a reminder of how powerful a single character can be, how one performance can redefine an entire genre. And as I sit here thinking about it, I realize something simple but undeniable. We don't just miss Jack Sparrow because he was entertaining. We miss him because he made the world of pirates feel alive in a way nothing else has managed to do since. And until that feeling returns, in whatever form it may take, a part of us will always be waiting for that familiar walk, that unpredictable smile, that voice that sounds like it's hiding 1,000 secrets behind every word. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many new stories come our way, no matter how much the industry changes, there will always be one captain who stands above the rest. Not because he was perfect, but because he was unforgettable. And maybe that's enough to keep the hope alive. And if you feel the same way, if you still find yourself missing that chaotic genius of a pirate, then maybe it's worth holding on to that feeling just a little longer, because who knows what the future holds. Until then, keep the legend alive. And if this story meant something to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.